Good morning, everybody. Sven Pictures here, out in Ybor City today, this morning. And behind me is the Ybor City, State Museum. Now, I've not checked this out. I have done the Tampa Museum, History Museum, and the ghost tour of Ybor City and of St. Petersburg. Haunted St. Petersburg and haunted Ybor City ghost tours. However, I found this not too long ago just by walking around after I had gotten done watching the Tampa Bay Lightning game over in Thunder Alley a few months back. However, so I thought today we'd come out this morning and check this place out, see what all it has. And of course, Ybor City is home of the Roosters. And look at them all gathered up here. Oh, one's on top of the tractor. One wanting to be greeted. Of course, they are a staple of Ybor City, and cannot pet the roosters, cannot feed the roosters or chickens. They will bite. And they are very aggressive, and so don't want to interfere with their daily lifestyle. But I want to check out the Ybor City State Museum. Let's head out.
Welcome to Ybor City Museum State Park. My name is Louis, Park Services Specialist Louis Ferris. It means I manage day-to-day business of the museum and its grounds.
All right.
We operate 3/4 of this city block. We operate 6 of the 7 buildings on the block. The only building that we do not operate is that one right there, the large white building with the green shutters. That's now Casa House. It was quite a few cigar factories, but most recent was the Swan Cigar Factory.
Okay.
And it was built in, I believe, 1891. And it's the last remaining wooden cigar factory, but now today is currently an apartment building.
Okay.
Right. So the museum that we operate here, Ybor City Museum State Park. The building. I'm not going to fight this.
Yeah.
All right, so the museum that we operate, it was at one time the Ferlita Family Bakery. They operated the bakery between 1895 and 1973. In 1922, their original wooden structure burnt down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in 1923, they reopened this current brick building and added a second oven.
Okay.
All right. They eventually moved from Italian bread to Cuban bread, and baking, I believe, something like 35,000 loaves a week.
Wow.
So the only difference between Italian bread and Cuban bread really is that the Cuban bread is shorter and added a palm leaf on top to add the crust.
Okay.
Essentially, it's Italian bread with those two differences. All right. In 1976, the State Park Service, the Florida Park Service, took over the property, and in 1980, the museum proper opened. Okay?
All right.
So, the Casa House had survived this fire and fires all around it about 15-20 years ago for the urban redevelopment project. They started building the apartment complexes on the other side of Palm Avenue.
Oh.
Halfway through construction, that burned down.
Oh, wow.
All right, how many hurricanes since 1891 has this building survived? When the developer took it over, it was actually leaning like this toward Palm Avenue.
Oh, wow.
It took about 3 years to develop it and fix it up, and is now in the glory that it is now.
Oh, man.
So let's take a walk.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we'll be going with this casita tour. So just imagine that back in 1886, when Mr. Ybor opened Ybor City, this sidewalk, the street was not here, right? It was all just a sand lane.
Oh, wow. It was all sand?
It was all sand.
Oh, wow.
So
it's one brick.
In the museum, you'll see an exhibit about the world's longest cigar, 196 foot, 3 3/8 of an inch.
Wow.
That was in 2009. It was Guinness Book of World Records.
Uh-huh.
Right here is a paver marking the end of that cigar.
Oh, there it is. World's longest cigar, 2009.
Right, and the beginning of it is all the way at the end of the street corner at the first street lamp.
Wow.
Right, it was rolled right here on this sidewalk under a tent, and I'm told that it was about 100 volunteers. And it was made for a fundraiser for Ybor City Museum Society, which is our citizen support organization and a 501c3 organization that helps to support the park in ways that we're not able to do ourselves.
Okay. Wow. So are these up here just like normal houses?
These are all part of the park.
Okay.
Right, so this first one right here is what we call our tour La Casita. La Casita meaning small house. Right? And so these three houses were all moved here from 15th Avenue
Okay.
in an effort to save them from demolition during the I-4 expansion project.
Right. Okay.
And so this is our tour casita. Like I said before, it is furnished as though it was lived in between 1890 and 1910. The middle casita is our storage and office space. And the final casita there is operated by the Ybor City Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to escape the rain by coming up here on the porch.
Sounds good.
Right. So this casita was built sometime around 1894 and moved to this location from 15th Avenue, like I said. All right. So the proximity to the houses that you see is about how it was in the 1890s when they were first established. Mr. Ybor came here in 1885 and built Ybor City. He built all the houses, had the factories constructed, had the stores built. That way in 1886 when everybody came, they had a place to go.
Okay.
He offered these houses for sale or rent to the workers. For sale, the houses, depending on which floor plan they selected, ranged between about $450 to $900. He offered these houses for sale interest-free and wage deducted. So, if a worker went from one storefront to another storefront, their mortgage followed along with them. From one cigar store to another cigar company to another company, their mortgage followed them. Okay. This is where life was lived. In the 1890s, 1880s, there was no air conditioning. Okay. Right. So.
That's fun.
So during the days in Florida, this is where you wanted to be, outside of the house.
Yes.
Right. The kids were playing in the street. The proximity of the houses being so close together. Little Johnny down the street, Mommy knew exactly what little Johnny did or was doing before he even got home. Right. Word traveled quickly.
Yeah.
So on this porch is one very culturally significant item. Is this nail right here on this wall? This is not a ranger not driving the nail all the way through. This is what I call the first Uber Eats. Okay? The Fleet Bakery had their own livery station, horse-drawn buggy delivering the bread to the patrons rather than the patrons coming to the store.
Okay.
Okay. The delivery man would simply take that bread, slap it right there on the nail, and it hung just high enough so the neighborhood dog couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
Okay. There was also, I would imagine, used for other forms of communication. I remember when I was a child, my parents had the notepad and pencil right next to the doorbell saying, "Hey, this is Grandma, sorry I missed you."
Yeah.
Right, type of thing.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that would be done as well. And then other communication things that we'll find out as we go into the house.
Wow, I like the wood paneling.
Right.
I love this.
So.
Reminds me of a log cabin.
Right. So. When I first saw these houses, the gentleman that trained me, when I first saw him, I said, "Man, that's a Sears and Roebuck house." He said, close. When Mr. Ybor was done building Ybor City, he actually sold the plans to Sears and Roebuck for their modular houses they sold on the catalog, in their catalog.
Oh, wow.
Right, so this is the parlor or sitting room, a former living room. I know when I was a kid, I had that one buddy who had 2 family rooms, right? One was a family room and one was a living room.
Oh.
And the family room, you didn't even think about looking at that couch, much less sitting in it, right?
Oh.
It was for formal occasions only, and that's what this room is.
Oh.
But now I mentioned that there was no air conditioning, so you'll notice 11-foot ceilings, and originally there was no glass. In the very beginning, there was no glass windows; they were just shuttered. So the lace curtains helped to protect against mosquitoes as much as possible.
Right.
Cross ventilation, the windows being directly across from each other, helped with that as well. Eventually, when the glass windows did show up, they were double hung, which means that the top window lowered and the bottom window rose. What that allowed to happen is the cooler air comes in from the bottom, the hotter air rises and goes out the top of the window.
Okay.
Added additional circulation.
Yeah.
Right? So this room, like I said, was a formal living room. It was not used every day. It was only used for special occasions. And in the case of a family member passing away, this is where the wake would have happened.
Okay.
Okay. So here, closest to the ropes, we have 2 chairs that are identical, made of solid mahogany from Cuba.
Oh, wow.
And as I understand, still to this day, you'll find that style of chair in the average Cuban home. Under the window, a chair from Spain, and then a platform glider from Germany. In the corner, you'll see a heating stove. That stove is not intended to cook with. That is purely for heat. Imagine Florida. Why would you want a heating stove, right?
Heating stove in.
Seriously. What happened was in the 1890s, there was a freak winter storm, and the temperatures never got out of the teens for multiple days.
And that's in Florida.
Not exactly in Florida.
Yeah.
So people were not prepared for that, and unfortunately, there was quite a bit of fatalities from that storm.
Yeah.
In the house, you'll find a lot of religious emblems and artwork.
Mary. There's like Mary right there.
Right there, yeah. So just remembering that most of the people in Ybor City were from Cuba.
Yeah.
Okay. They're in the middle of the Cuban Revolution, fighting against Spain, trying to become independent from the country of Spain.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church had a great hold on the Spanish government. So they were not only boycotting Spain, but they were also boycotting the Catholic Church.
Okay.
However, that does not mean that they boycotted their religious obligations. Okay. So they maintained that. Some things in this room that you'll find, the woven hat, scarf, those things would have been worn every day, the hat especially by the men. Okay. Excuse me. On the table here is a fan that was used in what was known as the language of the fan. The young lady would use that fan and different fluttering motions of the fan communicate emotions toward the young man. If that young man were to receive those emotions, he may come to this formal living room and sit here on the courting chair, and directly across the room would be mommy, auntie, maybe even grandma, making sure the young couple maintained proper form through their meetings. Okay.
They're definitely very strict during this time period of how they sit, how their posture is, and where they sit at. It's a very strict, more so unlike today, where you can just go and sit down in a chair.
Very much.
You have very much of a correlation between who sits where in each chair, and especially with the Spanish chair over here in this by the window was more formal, like no one could sit there except for a special occasion.
Yeah, right. So of course nowadays, moving forward, we call the courtship chair, the courting chair, the love seat. Right?
Right.
All right, so if we continue walking, the first bedroom is the parents' bedroom. And you'll notice the difference between the parents' bedroom and the rest of the house is the whitewashed walls.
Yes.
Trying to protect the parents against evil spirits or bad thoughts.
Right.
Okay. So some things in this room that you might notice is the wash basin with the mirror there. If you go.
Oh. Yeah, there we go. I can see it.
So bathing was not done every day. So freshening up was a common practice.
Okay.
And remembering that in the beginning there was 2 wells, one uphill and one downhill, and then a natural spring to collect drinking and bathing and cooking water. So any water you had in the house, there was no running water, so any water in the house you had was brought into the house by buckets. So you wanted to try and conserve that water as much as possible. Okay?
Okay.
Noticing the armoire, there was no closets. So clothing might have been hung on nails on the wall or strung across the wall from nails or in the armoire if you were able to have one. In front of the window is a treadle sewing machine, and that would provide the opportunity for the women of the house to offer clothing for the household, or also outside of the household earning extra income. Okay. The religious box hanging on the wall to the left of that sewing machine would have held materials necessary for the last rites, remembering that all those types of things would have been done in the house.
Okay.
Okay. The metal frame bed preventing termites and other bugs in the bedding, and additional mosquito netting to protect while sleeping in the bed. You'll also notice the lantern there with the reflector. That reflector adds so much more light to the room for the gas lights.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, because they had gas power.
Well,
lanterns. Kerosene lanterns.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay. So the next room in the house is going to be the children's bedroom.
Oh yeah.
And you'll see again the metal frame beds.
I always love these cool. Sorry, but I love all these antique toys.
Right.
I love all these old toys like covered wagons, old skate shoes, pianos, and then you got the beds.
Right.
So, there you go.
So homemade and store-bought toys. The strap-on skates. My 5-year-old has a pair of those, but they're also decorated with Paw Patrol. You'll notice both bedrooms you have the chamber pot, preventing you from having to go to the outhouse in the middle of the night. Yeah. Right? With the snakes and alligators and the wolves and everything else roaming the streets.
Oh, look, there's one in the corner there, too.
That's little training potty there.
Training potty, yeah. Ooh.
The kites in the window, I was told a story that sometimes the young boys would attach razor blades to the kites, trying to cut the strings of their competitors as a form of fun.
Oh wow! So it's like a game,
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's a game without a little danger?
Right.
So, just kidding, folks.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't try this at home.
Please don't.
The one interpretive difference of this room is that the crib would actually have been in the parents' bedroom.
Okay.
The children would always live with the parents.
Well, especially
the youngest children.
If you're like the newborn up to like 2, or even until you grow out of the crib. I would venture to guess that's the parents want their child to sleep with them.
Exactly.
In order to prevent, under circumstances, something happening.
Right.
With the child.
Right. Yep.
So.
All right. And so the final room of the house is the kitchen.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to preface the next statement with I don't agree. Personally, I cook, I clean, I wash dishes, I do laundry, I help my wife and family as much as I can. However, in the 1880s, 1890s, that was not the case. The kitchen was the women's realm.
Okay.
So I'll move forward with that. From that, there was no running water in the house, so I'm not sure of the purpose of the well pump. This may or may not have been one of the city well pumps. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that is, with that lore being a possibility, I keep it inside. The dry sink, meaning no running water, would have actually been underneath the window, so that when you're done washing the dishes, you simply keep the window open, take the dirty dishwater, and toss it out.
And toss it out the window.
Done. Right. Everything was delivered they were making enough money that they didn't have to worry about going to the store so much.
Right.
Milk was delivered, bread was delivered.
Yeah.
Their meals, such as the container on the table, that's 5 trays of meals from a local restaurant to be delivered to the house.
Huh.
Right.
So there you go, 5 days a week, boom.
Right. So another delivery would have been ice. This is the ice delivery, 25, 50, 75, 100 pounds of ice. Right.
Oh, okay.
This would have hung on the nail on the front of the house.
Okay.
Number that was up was the quantity of ice that they were requesting.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So would they have just like an arrow, or would they just? Oh, or would they like turn the whole board?
Yeah, they would take it off, hang it from the nail.
Hang it from the
hole.
nails of each hole. Okay, so if it was like 100 pounds, it would be flipped this way, and then put
Right.
it that. Oh,
And so there's your ice box here in the corner.
all right.
Interpretively, that would also have been just inside the back door. Way the ice delivery men can just open the unlocked door, deposit the ice in the ice box, and close the door and move on to his next delivery.
Nice.
Okay. So cooking was not done all the time in the house. If it was done, it was probably done outside on a fire.
Okay.
But only for very special occasions. I said they were doing so well, they didn't have to cook. Much less did you want to fire up a wood stove inside a house in Florida.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So, however, some things that would have definitely been cooked if they were, this tool was used for flattening.
Flat.
Please pause my. There we go. We can start recording again.
There we go. Plantain.
So this was you would slice the plantain, put it in the divot here, and close it to flatten it, and then fry it into a plantain chip.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
There's a term for it that I can never remember how to pronounce, and I apologize for that, folks.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Something else that would have been cooked was paella, and this is a paella bowl for serving that paella. It's a seafood, rice, and other vegetable dish, very common to the people here in Ybor City. Preventing the need from firing up your stove, coffee was a huge thing, right? Everybody wanted coffee.
Yes.
So they would use a kerosene burner in a pot to heat the water. Okay.
Yeah.
Carrying it to your coffee maker, right? After grinding your beans, put them here in the sock, and take your hot water and pour it directly over the beans and into your coffee pot. The first pour over, right?
Yeah.
I have a museum docent that normally works on Thursdays, Mitzi, who grew up most of her life in Argentina, and she says that she still to this day uses this machine for making her coffee.
Wow.
Right? Of course, not needing much of it, it was quite strong coffee.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Right? No need for 2 and 3 cups.
No.
Right? So another duty of the women of the house was laundry.
Yeah.
Okay, utilizing soap and a washboard to scrub,
Yes.
or an agitator in a barrel of water. This agitator, a few years ago, we had the story is I'm told is that we had a gentleman come through the museum on this tour, and he saw this, and he said, he's from Germany, and his family had a factory in Germany manufacturing this item.
Wow.
During this era of time that we're talking about.
Wow.
Right? So now that you're done scrubbing and washing your clothing, now you hang it along with homemade clothespins. After it's dried, now you get to iron the wrinkles out of your clothing.
That looks like, is that made of iron?
Yes.
That
That's
is-
why we call it a clothing iron.
Yes.
Because originally they were made of iron.
Of actual
Right?
iron.
This particular one is an 8-pound iron. A gallon of water equals the weight of this iron.
Oh my word. That's heavy.
Yes. So the heavier the iron, the heavier the fabric that you're ironing.
Wow.
Right. So some other things that you would find in the typical kitchen: tins of olive oil, or perhaps even a jug of rum, Bacardi rum, from Cuba.
Oh yeah.
Bacardi didn't move to Puerto Rico until the Cuban Revolution in 1895.
Okay.
So, at any rate, if any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, we'll go outside.
All right. The bathtub.
So this was the bathing tub, and it was shared by the entire family. One tub for the entire family, starting at the top and working yourself down. The father first, mother, eldest child, second child, baby. And this is where the term "don't throw your baby out with the bathwater" comes from, because by the time the baby got there, it was hard to see through.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, you couldn't see.
Right. So the garden, you can see the garden. This garden would have been shared by 4 or 5 families. Would not have had this decking that we have now. This is for our own internal use. And growing herbs and spices, tomatoes, small bits of vegetables and whatnot. The outhouse is a historic structure. It's from a federal program in the 1930s trying to increase sanitization. It came to us from the Ocala area.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I do hear thunder, so I do want to move in.
Yeah, I did too. So it's like,
Watch your step, it's going to be a little bit slippery.
all right. Okay.
Originally, right next door to the bakery was a macaroni factory. And then after that was row houses, which is one building, multiple families and households, and then a couple of casitas at the end.
Okay.
So this garden was created by Florida Park Service
Okay.
in the 80s and is now a Florida native garden. Every plant in the garden is native to Florida, and a couple are edible.
Oh, wow.
And so at least one of them is good for mosquito repellent as well. But both edible and mosquito repellent is the American Beauty Berry.
Ah.
The berries of that plant you can eat. They range in flavor from semi-sweet to no taste at all. But of course, you add enough sugar, you get a great jam to anything.
Yes.
Right. The other is the fern plant right there in front of the lamppost.
Yes.
Called Kunti. The Seminoles use that, the tubular roots of that, to create a bread called Kunti bread. However, if you don't wash the tannins out of the roots in just a proper way, you die. So let's not try that at home either.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's a bit about the garden, and it is rentable. This is not a plug, but it is rentable, and for weddings, celebrations of life, we've had quinceañeras, we've had corporate events in the garden here after hours.
Wow.
So, and then of course you have the Ybor City chicken.
I was about to say, got them all here.
Ybor City chicken is an extra protected bird here in Tampa. The entire city of Tampa is an avian sanctuary. However, the Ybor City chicken has its own city ordinance protecting them. They are culturally significant Ybor City, as these chickens came from Cuba with the immigrants to first Key West and then to Ybor City. And they are a part of a national study of feral chickens. They're being studied in Key West, Ybor City, and Hawaii as well.
Oh, wow.
So
there you go. Got the whole bunch of chickens.
But anyway, that's about the casita and the park in general.
I love it. Yeah, there we go. So
and we're open Wednesday through Sunday, 9 to 4.
Okay. Wednesday through Sunday, 9 to 4.